One of the questions I hate is, why does this always happen to me? Welcome to this episode of the Limitation Is A Mirage podcast. On this episode, I want to talk about the question that I get asked a lot and I think is a stupid fucking question. And that question is, why does this always happen to me? And it's always said in a tone of like complete confusion and like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? And my response is always, well, I don't know, why is it happening? Why does this always happen to you? What are you always doing to always create this outcome? And nobody ever seems to go that far after they say, like, why is this always happening to me? I'm a good person, or I don't deserve this. I'm like, well, what choices are you making that lead you here? It's not magic. It's not just happening to you for no reason. Like if it's to do with work, like why do I keep losing my job? Why does this always happen to me? Why can I never pass the interview? Why do I always get dumped? Why do I always get cheated on? Why does my plane always get delayed? What is it that you're doing that's creating all that? I added in the plane one because it comes up quite a bit. Like why did things completely out of my control always happen to me? Like the plane is happening to everybody. Like you're sitting in an airport. There's a couple hundred of you with a delayed flight and your brain is going, why does this always happen to me? So it's happening to everyone. It's not just happening to you. But why do people not ask themselves the actual question? Like we say it, but why do we not ask, why is this always happening to me? So if that was your question, and it comes up a lot, like it comes up all the time, break it down, look into it. So if we pick the example, if I never pass the interview, why does this always happen to me? I never get a job. Well, maybe you're shit at interviews and you need to look at that and start to develop your interview skills. What have you done in the last month, 2 months to prep yourself for the interview? What are you doing with your appearance? What are you doing about the way you dress? What are you doing about everything that you have control over about the interview? Have you applied for a job that you are suited to, that you're qualified to do, whether that's mental qualifications or actual physical certificate qualifications? Like, what is the whole picture? Not just this little moment of you getting told you don't get the job. What is going on all around? And I know I use the job as the example, but take that into relationships, take it into getting fired, take it into family life, friendships, whatever it is, whatever you think is the poor me, why does this always happen to me? Delve into it. Actually ask yourself, like, why does this? Why does it? Not just, why does it always happen to me? But why? Why does this thing seem to happen a lot around me? Because again, if you look at it, it probably doesn't always happen. It probably happens quite a bit. And if you were to look into it, there's probably like 8 out of 10 times you don't end up in this poor me situation. And there's only 2 times where you do. But for some reason, you're really focused on the negative. That's another question to ask yourself. I suppose what I'm really getting at is whenever you look at your life and you go into a poor me attitude or why does this always happen to me, actually be willing to break it down so that if you did come to someone like myself and say that, and I asked you follow-up questions, you would be able to answer in some way instead of going, why does this always happen to me? And I say, well, I don't know, can you give some examples? Everything always goes wrong, nothing ever works out. And you're like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not always this way. Sometimes it does work out. Sometimes it doesn't. Look deeper at it and then be willing to actually make the changes so that more times out of the way it is more times it's going to work for you than against you. A lot of the time it seems that people who are really negatively focused have negative outcomes to things that there is a black and white, negative or positive, like get the job, don't get the job. Even in that, like that's how they look at it. And I will say, well, did you contact the employer and ask them why? No, fuck that, I'm not doing that. Like, well, you're not really helping your case any, and I wouldn't fucking hire you either, or I wouldn't take you back, or whatever the situation happens to be. So the next time you find yourself asking yourself, why does this always happen to me? Actually ask the question and answer it. Don't just go off on a wee negative tangent and then piss and moan about it and do nothing. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Have a super awesome day and I'll chat to you again soon.